Hello, hello! Welcome back to my channel. My name is Megan, and today I will be giving you my review of the book Florence Adler Swims Forever by Rachel Beanland. Before we get too far into it, I wanted to say I got a new little pumpkin for my shelf. Oh, he's a little dusty already. This I found in a bin of home decor that I think my family bought for some reason or other quite a while ago, and I found this pumpkin, and so now it is mine and it's going to live right up here. I'm hoping to maybe collect more as I continue the development of my channel, but for now we've just got these two. Also, fun drink of the day is much more exciting than a glass of water. Today I have a salted maple latte that I made myself. I don't know if you can see it, maybe a little. The other day I got my very own espresso machine and I'm very excited about it. This is the first cup of coffee I have made with it, and it tastes pretty good if I do say so myself. It is maple syrup, a bit of pink Himalayan salt, the Nespresso Orafio espresso pod, and then Oatly barista style oat milk. Yeah, I'm really happy with this for my first time making my own coffee at home. Tastes pretty good. All right, let's get into it. This is my first review video on this channel and my second video overall, so I want to lay out sort of a standard for how I'm going to review each book. I'm going to be going off of the standard rating out of 5 stars, but I want to be clear that I think that each book is very unique. And if I were to say like all 4-star reads were the same, it would be like comparing apples and oranges. So a 4-star reading on one book I read is not going to be the same as a 4-star reading on the next book I read. Each book is going to be rated on a very individual level. I've been a reader all my life, and I am also a writer, and I've written a lot over the years. And I consider myself pretty well versed in identifying what works in a book, what doesn't work. And so I'll be taking a look at things like my overall enjoyment of the story, of course, but also story structure, pacing, writing style, etc. So for Florence Adler Swims Forever, I can tell you right now I give it 4 stars. If you saw my first video, which I will link up here, you will know that Florence Adler is the book that kind of got me out of a years-long reading slump. It's been so long since I finished a book, and so long since I picked up one that I really enjoyed. And Florence did it. It was a long and grueling process, but I did finally get through it. The only reason I say it was grueling is because my life has been very busy, and I haven't had as much time or energy to read as I would like. This video I originally thought was going to be filmed and posted in mid-June, and it is now July 1st. So I'm definitely a little behind what I thought my schedule would be, but that's okay because the goal of trying to get myself out of this reading slump is to take things at my own pace, and it's okay if I need to be flexible with my timeline. It is not by any means one of my favorite books. I don't think I would put it in like the top running list of the best books I've read, but it was still very good. I do think it'll be easier to mention and discuss why I saw a few shortcomings in it, rather than tell you why I liked it so much. But let's try to get into the positives first. It was a very touching and beautiful story. It was based on a true story. And the basis is that Florence, who is the daughter of this Jewish family, wanted to swim the English Channel. And she was in training to do that, and it was almost time for her to leave for France to go swim the English Channel. And I don't think this is a spoiler because it's basically stated in the back cover blurb, and it happens literally within 2 or 3 pages of the book starting. But Florence passes away very suddenly, and her family is stricken with grief. But her older sister Fanny is in the hospital on bed rest because she's pregnant with her 3rd baby, and she lost the last baby she had, and they don't know what caused it, and they're very worried that there are going to be complications with this baby too. And so the family decides to keep Florence's death a secret from Fanny, and they go to great lengths to make sure that happens. Like I said, the book was based off of a true story. The author, Rachel Beanland, left a very lovely author's note in the back of the book that said it was based off of her great aunt, Florence Lowenthal, and these events actually happened to Florence and her family. I believe it was Beanland's grandmother who she modeled the young child character off of, who witnessed Florence's death. There are quite a few characters in the book, and one thing I did not love as much was it had alternating perspectives between, how many family members were there? There was Esther, the mother, Joseph, the father, Fanny, Gussie, the granddaughter, Florence's niece, Stuart, who was not a family member, but he was very close with Florence, Anna, who is basically like a daughter to Joseph, and he is helping her parents get out of Germany. He helped her first, and now they're working on getting her parents out of Germany. And also Isaac, Fanny's husband. So there are 7 perspective characters, and that was kind of a lot to deal with. Each character only got 3 sections in their point of view throughout the whole story. I would call them chapters, but I suppose they are chapters. They were quite long. The story took place over the course of 3 months. So it was June, July, and August. And each character got 1 chapter in each month. So the perspectives were very, very spread out, and it was kind of difficult to keep track of everybody. There wasn't too much differentiation between the voices of each character. There was enough that it was still engaging, but I do think that many characters might have been a little too much for this novel. Because there were so many characters and it took place over a course of months, it was a pretty slow read, which isn't a bad thing at all, but that's just the nature of the book. I also think I read slower than most people, but I'm on my next book now and it's going much quicker than that one. Beanland's writing style is pretty straightforward and not overly complicated, or she doesn't have much purple prose, you would say, but that made it really easy to digest the book, and it wasn't too convoluted to get through. One thing I do think she did really well is this was a historical fiction novel set in Atlantic City in the 1930s, and I really got a good taste for the setting, and I could very clearly picture the Atlantic City boardwalk and specific scenes in the story. If I had to tell you why you should read this book, I would say it's a very touching story of family resilience and grief, and how to process the grief of a loved one. Ironically, even though she wasn't a member of the family, I think my favorite character was Anna, and my favorite part of the story and the plot was actually the little romance that Anna had with another character. Her perspective was my favorite. I think it was clearest that her voice was the strongest out of all the characters. I found her very interesting, and I didn't find many of the other characters too interesting. I feel like I'm not talking the book up very well, but I would still give it 4 stars. It was very good to me. Like I said, it's just easier to pick out the things that I didn't quite like about the book as much. I think my least favorite part was it ended very abruptly. I think that the ending could have had a lot more depth to it. The story could have gone on for a bit longer. I'm not exactly sure why the author chose to end it exactly where she did, but it also felt rather anticlimactic. They've been keeping the secret from Fanny for so long, and a few things happened that kind of build up to what you think is going to be a dramatic conclusion, and it doesn't turn out that way. It's actually quite simple. But I think that the part of the ending, before it ends abruptly, aligns very well with the idea of protecting your family and keeping safe what you have and learning to live life to the fullest. So I think for me, the biggest things were the side plots were my favorite, the setting, and also the messages behind the story. It was a very powerful story overall. I wouldn't recommend it to everyone, but if you like historical fiction and you like maybe a little bit of romance sprinkled in, a simple, heartfelt story that discusses grief, then this is definitely the book for you. Another thing I found very interesting was the family is Jewish, and there was a lot kind of woven in about their practices as a family and their religious values and things like funeral rites and burial procedures that really gave the book life and gave the family depth. It wasn't overwhelming at all, but it was very neat to see Judaism portrayed in a novel when I don't think that's something I usually see. It gave me a real sense of how people who are Jewish might have lived back then and how they were reacting to what was going on in Germany before the Holocaust. Especially because Anna was German, there was a lot of depth brought in by discussing the Jewish culture. I'm not sure if there's much else I can say on this book right now, and I know this is a shorter video and it was a little sporadic, but this is my first review video on this channel, and so I just want to get something out and gain some practice with reviewing books. I don't think I had any strong opinions on Florence Adler, but again, it did get me out of my reading slump, and I did enjoy it a good amount. It was never something I felt like I would DNF at any point. There were never moments where I wanted to give up on it. I was very interested in seeing it all the way through. And anyway, I think that's all I have to say. So this was my review of Florence Adler Swims Forever by Rachel Beanland. I would give it 4 out of 5 stars, and I would recommend it to anyone who's looking for a historic fiction novel about a family processing their grief. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Happy reading and happy harvest. Bye!